Okay, guys, beautiful spring day. Thought I'd give you this fresh backdrop and also a fresh perspective. I'm featuring today a dealer that's going to be at the Southwest Audio Show, and they're bringing gear from plenty of brands, but this particular brand does it all from Germany, but it's not the one you're thinking. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, welcome back to the channel. Highlighting, like I've been doing for Florida Show as well as Southwest Audio Show, different vendors that are going to be at these shows prior to the show to kind of give you some guidance if maybe some of these things will resonate with you, and also give them a chance to share with you some of the unique things they're doing. And today it's very exciting. It's KC Audio. It's a dealership, kcaudio.com in Dallas, appointment only. But when you look at the brands, go to that website, they have some really high-end brands and a unique way of presenting them to you that's different than the normal brick and mortar model. So he's going to share a lot of that information with you, as well as tell you about the gear. And one thing I want you to, I'll put chapters in the Zoom so you can decide which parts you want to watch, because I know Zooms aren't all that exciting, but little highlights. He's bringing a lot of Burmester stuff, and Burmester is a brand that does it all, much like MBL from Germany, and is one that I haven't talked about as much as MBL, not for any particular reason other than their electronics I've always been a fan of, but their speakers have not really been up to the level that I thought they could be compared to their electronics. And one thing that's important to note, Burmester can work with any kind of gear. You don't have to stay in their ecosystem. But now I think it's a lot of benefits to stay in their ecosystem all the way through to speakers. There has been a definite evolution in their speakers. It's not just coming out with Mark 1, Mark 2 in the same chassis and you don't even know which one is which. No, they've been doing some true evolution of their speaker brand. And so now I think this brand can compete with almost any others that do it all and got that German pedigree, beautiful chassis. So I want you to pay particular attention to what this dealer is bringing, and maybe check them out when you go to the show, because that'll give you another fresh perspective of a brand that many people don't ever get to hear. Stay tuned.
Appreciate you doing this. I think it's a very cool thing to help, small businesses like ours and others, help promote them. I think it's, and you and Gil working this out, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is part of my ethos as a channel is, giving back to the hobby, and whatever I can do with my platform to feature, great brands and things that even I learned things from these Zooms that, I didn't know before. And even though I've met you at the show, I haven't even gone to your showroom yet.
Right.
And, looking at your website and talking to you in the past, you definitely have some brands that are top of the top, and I'd love to come by and do a feature at your store. But, want to thank you for joining me anyway for this, just to give an overview. Maybe you could just start with some background on yourself and your store, and then we'll talk about the Southwest Audio Show.
Sure. When it comes to the background about myself, I've always been a huge music lover. I had a little transistor radio when I was 4 years old, and I would listen to all the top hits of that time, which were I'm a child of the 60s. So all that wonderful music back then, here, you look behind you, you're looking at one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that thing so much, the back came off of it. My parents were afraid I was going to electrocute myself, because I used it all the time. And music was an incredibly important part of my life. From there, in high school, I was in the choir, and then I learned to play guitar functionally. Let's put it that way. I'm no Jimmy Page by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just a fun thing for me to do. And what happened was, from there, I was in a band in high school, a band in college, and then I made are you ready for this, coffee house circuit.
Really?
I was doing coffee house presentations. We did Neil Young and Lennon and all that kind of stuff. What was big back then, Cat Stevens. And then after college, I got hooked up with probably one of the most amazing guitarists I've ever met, actually a Renaissance man, because he could paint and play equally with equal facility. He was unbelievable. So I said, I need to promote you. And I started booking them gigs, and it was progressive rock type stuff.
Okay.
They called themselves Lizard.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, so after that, a few years later, I was working in a field that wasn't very satisfying, and I had an opportunity to start a company with a friend of mine to build loudspeakers. So what we did was that we put together, very innovative, I might say. We were using long ribbon drivers in a terminated compression base transmission line type arrangement. And that lasted for a little bit. I remember I probably worked 16 hours a day. I'm not exaggerating, for a year. And I had sniffle, cold, cough. The minute I took a break, one day, it all went away.
Really?
Yeah. So I was very committed to it. And then we decided to part company. He did pretty well with it. He had a different idea of how to run the business, you know, how it is when you have partners and stuff like that. And then I said, I've learned a lot, and I'd like to, and I still have this tremendous passion. Why not share it with other people? So I started Krystal Clear Audio-Video. And where the name came from was originally, I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit. And where it originally came from was I was selling Austrian glass, the type you put in rooms with windows and it casts the rainbows.
Yes.
I was enthralled with that. And if you look in the back, I don't know if you can see, my logo is kind of derived from that, where we take the colors, light, and basically segregate them into different colors. And that's the way we do with equipment, segregating them into different tonalities. So voila, the whole music, right? And anyway, so that's I started actually in 1983. So I've been doing this for 42 years. And we, of course, have evolved. At one time, we had a huge store in the design district in Dallas. And then when I determined that the model was somewhat broken, it wasn't really serving our clients, then I adopted this model, which is a residential showroom. And it's no ordinary residential showroom, it's pretty nice. So people, instead of going to, and this is not dissing stores, everyone has a different model upon which they base their business. But I notice a lot of my clients, they go to stores, they come to ours in particular, and they say, this sounds good, but how does it work in my room with my equipment, right? And then a lot of them were very busy, and they wanted to come at different times, and we weren't open. And I said, wait a second, we've got this backwards. We need to do it on their time, not on our time. So that's where that idea came from. And it was really, we bring the showroom to your room.
Gotcha.
And we were bringing systems to people's home until it just became too unwieldy, and we were having to schlep 300-pound speakers to clients' home. And it was successful. In fact, we had more clients that said, why isn't everybody doing this? We had overwhelmingly positive feedback. And then we said, well, wait a second, there's people from out of town. How are they going to experience this? So that's when we really fleshed out our current residential showroom. It's in a really nice place, reminiscent of the kind of places our clients are in. And quite frankly, our clients are mainly high net worth, because this stuff, you see what we carry, it's not cheap.
Right.
But it's for people that have that passion. But we also have things that and what's one of the most fun parts of my business is taking these really super high-end, high dollar systems and giving people a taste of what that's like at lower costs. So I like to, and that's actually it's as satisfying, if not more so, than putting together systems for people.
That's
So
great. Do
that's
you
where it is.
do,
Yeah,
just real quick, do you do appointment only, or do you, is
we
it?
do appointment only.
Okay.
I honor my clients. The problem that I had when I had that that store in the Highline District is people would come in, it would be very disruptive. They weren't trying to disrupt it. It's just that we could only accommodate and pay attention and really give what people wanted when they came in only a certain amount of time. This way, when people come to our place, it's sacred. It's their time. There's no phones ringing, and they can really find themselves totally engaged and immersed with the music, which is the number one goal for me. The second
Sure.
one is, and this kind of goes into my philosophy, is I have two philosophies, and I'm known for one of them is life is too short for mediocrity. And number two is that we are, in a sense, we are very privileged to be able to provide something that helps people feel better about themselves, their lives. In other words, has a very healing effect. And I think actually music is the most healing power in the universe. Quite frankly, whatever you listen to can energize you, it can calm you, it can do a lot of different things. And that is my number one reason why I still do it after all these years, because I think I can still make a even if it's a minuscule amount, a teeny tiny little bit of difference in a person's life, it's a good thing.
That's good. Well, yeah, and I'm glad you found a model that works in a market that's very competitive. Dallas,
Oh, yes.
Texas, and then really what I'm impressed with as well, not just your philosophy and how it's worked out for you and your background, but I was looking at your website of all the brands that you carry. It's quite a impressive list. Maybe run down some of those things for us so people know some of the brands you carry.
Sure. I used to carry in the beginning, everybody does this. They carry the world, they carry everything. People walk in, there's so many choices, they're totally confused. And I like to make it like we are basically providing things that are best of class and their respective price range and their respective component category. And by doing so, and also very synergistic. So by doing so, I think it makes the decision-making process easier for clients, and then we can really help them dial in something that's fabulous for them. We have a philosophy, we call it, we create spectacular. So we really, that's what we want for our clients as well. In other words, I'm a all or nothing OCD, it's got to be the best or go home. It's not
Okay.
worth it.
So for whatever budget they give you, you try to design the entire system.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I can't do something at Best Buy level. I can't do something, for $2,000. Although I do have clients that I've done interesting things at that range, but really, as you well know, what things go for nowadays and why they go for that. And that's another thing that I really have to explain to clients of why things cost what they do. What is their inherent value at what they're charging and why it's worth it.
Right.
And that's very important too. And that's another aspect of our business is that all the components I choose have to perform at a level 1.5 to 2 times what you would normally get in that range.
Okay. So some of those brands, I see them on that.
Sorry?
Some of those brands I kind of see on that banner behind you.
Yeah, you can see some of the Burmester, as you well know, which is what
Burmester.
we're going to be featuring
Is
here.
that what you're bringing? Okay.
Yes. And then when we have name, Dyn Audio, Focal, we have aesthetics, we have esoteric and grandioso, which are also fabulous. The Burmester and the grandioso are very similar in the sense of over-the-top build quality and sonics without peer, especially if they're connected to the proper cabling and set up properly in a room and all that. And then we'd carry, let's see, lumen streamers, which are best of class. There's a lot of, as you well know, there's a lot of choices, and we just streamline it to what we know really works extremely well and we feel are really represent some of the best out there.
And I think that's a good point that a lot of people don't realize is buying stuff online, cherry picking this product here, this amp here, this speaker from here, um, can be good, but rarely is it optimal. You really have to have the synergy and the experience of, if you're going to get this amp, this preamp, this speaker, this room treatment for this room, that takes a level of acumen that most audiophiles don't have.
Right,
And
right.
so you're spending this amount of money, and you may even save a little bit of money doing it that route. But the performance to price ratio is much better if you actually have the expertise to put those pieces together. Sometimes you can even get better performance for less money. Um, it's all about that synergy aspect, knowing how pieces work together. There is electronics and engineering behind this, and some piece that may perform great with one piece is not electronically matched to another piece.
Exactly,
And especially even
exactly,
how far you have to run the cables may make
exactly.
this one not the right answer to this one. And so it's a very complex thing that audiophiles have to have the acumen and self-awareness to say,
Right,
I don't have that knowledge. I
right.
don't know when this kind of passive preamp won't work with this type of amp, and put that in the hands of somebody that does know, and then design the system. Look at buying now, not just, oh, I have this budget for speakers, this budget for preamp, this budget for the system and room treatments, very important, and say, this is what I have for my budget for my system, and then let somebody help you put together something for your system. The biggest fallacy people have is setting a budget for each individual piece and haphazardly trying to get the best piece ranked in Stereophile, ranked in some by XYZ reviewers. That's just not the way to do it. You're always going to be, you could be good, not going to be optimal.
Yeah, that approach is sort of the patchwork approach of doing things, and also what people, and as you know very well, and I've watched your videos, and you actually promote this idea because it's something you've been doing this for a long time yourself, and you understand how important synergy is. And that is, unfortunately, it's still one of the best kept secrets in all of high-end, high-performance audio. I have no understanding why. All of us preach it, and people like think, oh, I can do better than that. And maybe they can, like you said, but if you find the right synergy, it's going to be huge in terms of what you'll end up with, and something that'll be long-term satisfying, right?
Yeah. And so a company like Burmester also helps you because representing a brand like that, they can do it all. So if you like one
That's the
piece,
point. I'm glad you brought that up. That's the great thing about Burmester. It's at a very high level, and they have levels within. They have the reference and the signature and the top line. We're going to have a um, a reference and a top line room at the show.
okay.
And what you find is you put an entire Burmester system together and compare it with someone who's done kind of the you know the approach of a lot of different types of equipment, you know, and you put those together and you'll say, this really is every bit as competitive, if not more so, than what I put together. So instead of having to make all those difficult decisions, Burmester has made it for you, and they have a complete line to really support it, which I think is awesome. So
Yeah.
if somebody who has very deep pockets, who really has the means to do this, and they're wondering, they see all these other speakers and electronics, and they're all good, I would defy anyone to say, okay, they hear an entire Burmester system and they don't think it's competitive with all the rest of those. And they didn't have to go through all the effort of maybe buying equipment, it didn't work, and selling it, and trying to put what I call the hodgepodge approach. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Yeah. That's a great thing about Burmester. Real quick though, you
Yeah.
might want to adjust your camera down because It almost looks like you're in quicksand falling out.
Uh-oh. Well, maybe I am sinking. I don't know. Maybe this
I was
interview
going
I'm
to send you
sinking.
a
I
rope.
don't.
You're going to be
Is that
under
better?
this. I
Is
didn't know
that
how to
better?
send a virtual rope your way, but
Is that better?
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
But no, that's a great
I
point
was just
about
getting relaxed talking with you, Jason. What can I say?
next time we'll do it just in bed. We'll just be kicking back. That's one
I'll
element
make
of your
you, I'll make
showroom.
you
You have a
some fabulous
bedroom,
coffee. What's
a
that?
true bedroom system. Here, lay down.
That's funny. I
So
like
yeah,
it.
that's
I
cool.
like it.
Yeah, I like the shirt actually. Yeah, I get a better. Yeah, you got the fashion side. Yeah, cool.
No, you're
Um,
the fashionista. I'm just a.
well, some people would
I'm-
debate that. Yeah, I'm just a little bit out there for a lot of people, but yeah,
You're being who you are, and I always appreciate people who are for real, and you're definitely one of them. You're one
thank
of the
you.
good guys, and I've seen that. I'm not saying that because you're on. We're saying it in front of the camera. I just know that your intent is very true, and that's one of the reasons I'm talking with you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And like I said, it is about in life being authentic. And what I like to do
Yes,
is highlight the positives too, and not the negatives. And not every brand, not every dealer, not every philosophy is for everybody. But that doesn't mean you have to be
exactly.
negative because it's not for your taste. Like some
Right,
people like sushi, some people don't like sushi. Some people want ketchup on their steak, some people don't want. It's like it's not.
100%.
It doesn't hurt you if somebody
No,
likes something different. And so it's more about, I like to feature people like yourself, different types of philosophies, different ways of doing dealerships. And then whatever resonates with the audience resonates with the audience. I
right.
can give my experience and where I've been, my journey's taken me. And if people want to take that same journey, they can. And you can give your journey and where it's taken you and how you feel like Burmester is really delivering the goods. And I wouldn't argue. In fact, Burmester for me, definitely in terms of chassis alone is one of the best, if not the best looking in the industry. And one thing I have been impressed with recently, I wasn't all big a fan of their speakers for a while, but man, recently, starting in Munich, the newer models, I think they got feedback from people. Maybe I don't, it wasn't from me. I'm sure they didn't make changes because of me, but enough feedback. They put a lot of effort into their speakers, and I can tell the difference. And they are really a winner now. They went from one of my least favorite in Munich 2 years ago to one of my favorites. So, have you noticed that yourself? In
Well, they always have been building speakers. I mean, Dieter, I've known the guy, he's no longer with us,
okay,
unfortunately, but he was a tinkerer um, and a guitar player. I think he has like over, I don't know, 100 guitars he had in his possession.
wow,
And he really knew how to play guitar, unlike moi. But anyway, he was always looking for the emotion in music. And I think more than just a designer, he became himself part of the electronic design, as opposed to just being the designer, where it's him. I mean, it's the original music and him, and then the transduction of or the reproduction of it. And I think it really shows through. I think that's what you're responding to.
yeah,
His speakers he's had for a while are actually quite good. His new generation, I'm 100% in agreement with you. It's fabulous.
you
They're
see the
fabulous.
evolution.
Yes,
They're not just one thing I look at is sometimes companies will do new models every year, but the Mark II is very little than the Mark III or the A versus the B versus the
except for the
C.
price.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're paying for basically the same speaker in the
Right,
same chassis with minor
right.
changes here and there. And they can be a little bit better, but usually not worth making your other customers upset that now have depreciated models and you're not getting that much more for more money. And I don't really like that philosophy. But with Burmester, I think they were genuinely improving the speaker and evolving it, and such that
100%.
what you have now, I would, heartily endorse for people to audition at least and
Well,
see
thank
if
you.
it makes sense. Because if you can stay in the entire ecosystem of Burmester, then it also takes that synergy out of the equation. So you're going to have a full Burmester system at Southwest Audiophile.
So yeah, just to go into what we're going to have, we're going to be at the Lalique room,
Okay.
okay, which is like it's a big room. It's like 30 by 28. This is the second year we've done it. I've never done an audio show before last year, so this
Oh,
is
really?
the second one. Because mainly I've done, the by appointment, one client at a time. But anyway, the Lalique room will have the reference. So it's going to have the 150s. Unfortunately, the BX 100, we were going to have a, a US premiere of it, but they're not quite ready. But that's a good thing because I rather them be totally ready and have a fully fleshed out product than just say, here they are.
Right.
And they're not quite there.
The deadline's not worth it if it's not ready. So
But the 150s, you'll really get a really good. I think you probably have heard those, right? Have you
yeah,
heard
in
the?
fact, some of my friends own Burmester. They're a great match with Estalon speakers. I've heard that firsthand. So yeah, I mean, it's that's going to be exciting to see, and that's a brand that's very few brands, like I mentioned, that can do it all. Speakers, turn to everything basically they can do. And so you're going to be bringing a full Burmester system. You have other,
That's in the Lalique room.
yeah. What else do
In
you have?
our other room, which is the 111 room, it's a corner room. We're going to have a smaller system featuring the top line, which is there, and also I think it's a Texas premiere of the 232, the new integrated amp, which takes all the big rig components and condenses it into kind of a Swiss Army knife version.
Cool.
So yeah, it is. And then we are going to have the 38s, the B38s. And if you like the 150, have you heard the
Yeah,
B38s?
I don't think so.
Oh, you'll hear the lineage.
Okay,
They're
cool.
kind of the mini me of the 150s.
Okay,
That's the
great.
150s are the mini me of the 350s,
Okay.
which is a step above. But I think you're going to be kind of surprised by that. We are going to have be playing vinyl,
Oh,
both
cool.
both rooms. I encourage. Do you ever bring any vinyl with you?
No, I don't even own a turntable myself, but
If
I
you
do have
have any
vinyl.
requests,
Yeah.
I have about six. I didn't tell you this part
Okay.
because I have about 6,000 records. I'm small fry compared to some of my clients. Some of them have 14, 16,000. I have one that has 85,000.
Okay.
And anyway, that's something I'm known for is setting up turntables. I have my science back. I have a science background, and one of I made my own protractor that's accurate to within 2/10,000ths of an inch. It makes a
Okay.
big difference. Plus, the best thing in the world, yours and mine ears. That's the best test instrument.
Right.
Um, so anyway, uh, so we'll have that in both rooms.
Well, I
And
do have some
that's going to
requests
be, and
then.
of course, a streaming.
Okay.
So
But if you do have album and you have a good, I'm a big fan of Louis Armstrong, St. James Infirmary. If you have that one,
I
I
will
think the,
check. I have Louis Armstrong and I have um, uh, Ella as well. I like Ella
okay.
Fitzgerald a lot. So let me see if I've got that.
Yeah, there's some recordings on vinyl that are clearly better than the
Yeah.
streaming version. That's one
Oh
of
yeah.
them.
Oh yeah.
And then Chad Kasem's compilation on male vocals. Um, that one is really good. It's got the Weavers in Carnegie Hall. Got
Oh
some
yeah. The
really,
Weavers. Yes. Yes.
yes. So if you've got any of those
Okay.
albums, those would be definitely ones I would request.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's certainly, even though I don't have a turntable, there no question some vinyl pressings that have better dynamic range
Yep.
and quality of recording than streaming. So
And
yeah, that'd be
Burmester
cool.
has a new record too that they're going to
Oh,
debut
really?
show. So I haven't heard it. I'm sure it'll be pretty interesting.
Cool. Yeah, well, I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we're only a few weeks away, so
I know. Oh my gosh. I mean, the wheels are grinding here, let me tell you, because there's a lot of equipment to schlep.
but this is for me a special show because it's kind of in my backyard. I can drive
Absolutely.
to it and I can bring more outfits that don't fit on the airplane. But no, the venue last year was incredible. You picked the right show for your first show. Um, any other venue you go into with the other shows would be a downgrade from the Hilton Anatolia that we had
Even
last.
Exponent?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting to know.
I mean, Exponent is a nice hotel, no doubt about it, the
Yeah,
Schaumburg Hill. But this one is another level. This is actually a
I agree.
resort destination
Yeah,
that people will
absolutely.
stay at.
Yeah,
It's got a lazy river, everything. And then Dallas is much more vibrant than Schaumburg. So, there's that nightlife element, the whole vibe. And then, I'm just a Texas guy. I love Texas and the Texas people. It's
hey,
going to be great.
ditto, ditto.
So yeah, I think it's going to be giving people that yin yang from some of the other shows, and hopefully also because it's smaller, people will take more time in each room to digest things, be able to request a couple songs, learn some new music that maybe they don't know about. A lot of times people ask me for requests, but I like to hear what you're listening to because it may be something I haven't heard yet. So that's
Sure,
another benefit of these shows that you want to
absolutely.
take out of it. A lot of these people that put a lot of money into their system, yeah, some of them are just gear, merry-go-round, flippers and stuff, don't really care about the music, but some of them do and have great music taste and some that can really give you stuff that help your enjoyment. And one of the things I saw at the last show is that tears were coming to people's eyes when you play something that they love at the right volume and on a great system. And then it doesn't matter what kind of fancy watch you have, Ferrari. Yeah, you can get goosebumps from either of those things a little bit. Yeah, maybe when you floor the Ferrari, but how many times do you get that compared to a system that's doing things right, playing music? There's even health benefits to music in general. So nothing against people that have fancy watches, fancy cars. Usually all three go
Right,
hand in hand. But this to me is worthwhile if you're going to spend money on those things. The payoff with the emotion and the enjoyment is unparalleled in as long as you get the system right. And so
I
this will
agree.
give you guys a chance to check out some brands and a great dealer. And I hope to get to visit your place next time I'm in Dallas. This is going to be a tight in and out visit, but next time I'm up there, I'll definitely schedule something with
Well,
you.
you have a personal invitation, and the next time, the next available opportunity, I think, will be when we get the BX 100s, but which we're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, we'll have it by the end of fall, end of the summer or fall. I'm thinking fall more realistic. And we
Okay.
generally have an event, and I'm going to personally invite you to that one as well.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you've got my information, and this was great getting to know you a little better. Great for my viewers to get to know you better. Definitely, if you want to meet them firsthand, come to Southwest Audio Show. That's March 21st in Dallas, or reach out kcaudio.com. It's kcaudio.com,
Right.
and you can list and book an appointment if you're going to be in the Dallas area, even before or after this. So. Great talking to you. Look forward to seeing you in a few weeks. And any final thoughts?
Well, I was going to say you too, and I thank you very much for having some time and also getting to know you a little bit better. Because
Right.
I see you on YouTube, but I haven't, and I saw you one time last year at the
Right.
show, but we never
Perfect.
spend any time together. So this is great to have this
Yeah,
opportunity.
and just an FYI, I'm doing this for any vendors that are at these shows. I will do pre-show coverage free of charge. I'm not charging you for this or anything.
This is
It's
not
like
a pay for
not
play.
a pay
No.
for play. I never shake anybody down. This is just for me, this is entertaining. I'm happy to spend this hour talking to you, learning and sharing with you guys because this elevates the hobby. It gets you in a better spot if you've got these options to choose from. And there's so many great options at this show that it's probably going to be decision paralysis in many cases, but that's a good thing. So here's another good one to check out. Thanks for joining me and look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
It shall be done.
Okay. All right. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you, Jason. Bye now.